for 7 florins and 20 cents, just $4. Enjoy one today. Subway, eat fresh.
Welcome back to All Access. Audrey here. Next up in our Access Your Vote special, we sit with Rene Violenus at the Emilia Wilson Park as well. He tells us that he's bringing forward some renewal to St. Martin. Let's see what he meant by that.
The reason I decided to run was a lot of different, it's manifold. One of them stems from a conversation that I had with the mother of one of my colleagues. I ran into her outside of a very popular supermarket here on the island, and she was like, Rene, young people like, you need to start getting involved, because when the older ones who here now, time reach and they phase out, who's going to take over this country is young, intelligent people like you who need to get involved in this process. That's one. The other reason is because I believe that it is the responsibility of my generation to leave a legacy for those that are coming after us, specifically my children. If my little girl or my son asks me in 10, 20 years from now, Daddy, what did you do to preserve this? Or Daddy, what did you do to fight this particular thing? I need to say, well, Daddy ran for elected office. The people of St. Martin supported him. That was his contribution. He made a difference. He took the fight to the national level to represent and legislate in Parliament. That's what Daddy did. So it is my children that is one of my motivations for being here, as well as the fact that I've been involved in so many disciplines that I think I bring something unique to Parliament in terms of being helpful in co-legislating, working along with other parliamentarians, working along with the various ministries to help give them ideas on how to go about solving some of the social issues, diversification issues within the tourism sector. I come from an artist and social background. As many of you know, I'm an actor, poet, painter, graphics artist, etc., etc. And so there are things that we can do to diversify our product, and it is within our hands. And you need people who have the interest of St. Martin and moving St. Martin forward in mind in getting involved in the political process. And so that's another reason that I'm here, to do what I can to help elevate the standard of living for all of the people of my island.
A lot of times we see a lot of people going up for these elections, yet they have no real passion and respect for their leader, when at the end of the day, the leader is the one who actually make the final say, final decisions and so forth. How do you feel about Mr. William Marling of the National Alliance?
Okay, I told someone just the other day that I know William in a familial setting. He's related to someone very close to me. And so that is where I know William from. I respect William as a man who is serious about conducting the people's business. I've seen him, visited him at his office very late in the evening. He works sometimes until 10, 11 o'clock working on the people's business, and people don't know that side of William, and I respect him. I respect him as my leader. I respect the fact that as a person who has never been given a full opportunity to govern a country for a full term, all of the things that have been accomplished under his leadership. So in 9 short months, you've seen what we've accomplished and what has happened under his leadership. And so imagine in 4 full years where St. Martin would be. And that is something that the voter has to really, really concentrate on and pay attention to. The type of leader that you're getting, he's capable, he's a person that accomplishes, he's a person that has St. Martin at heart. And so I respect him immensely as that type of individual.
What kind of leader are you in your home? Because I think before you can lead a country and before you can actually represent as well, it shows on a smaller scale how you can actually be that shepherd of your flock. How exactly is that person in Rene?
Rene has, and I'm not bragging about myself, but Rene has always had leadership potential. Rene has had leadership opportunity. And it is no different in my home than when I was the vice president of Bonafide Promotional Foundation, or the president of the National Youth Council Association, or the vice president of the Federation for Antillian Youth Care, and so many other things that I've given leadership to. When I joined the Rotary Club, I became the vocational services director for the Rotary Club of St. Martin Sunrise. And again, my leadership ability was called on in order to draw the right young people together to form a Rotaract club that would be sustainable. And it is the longest running Rotaract club on the island right now. Rene Violenus is the person that led the charge. Zahira Hilleman was another one that I enlisted her help. I enlisted the help of a friend of mine called James, who was also a member of the Rotary Club, and Lisanne Charles. And so the four of us together made sure that everything was set in place for those young people to be able to be successful in accomplishing what Rotaract's ideals are. And so for my home, I want my children to accomplish and become the best that they possibly can be. And so there are things that I have set in place, certain disciplinary measures, leisure measures. And so it all goes hand in hand. And the leadership that I've utilized outside in the social realm, I bring the same leadership dynamic into my family realm. And so, yeah, if you talk to my family and my kids, they will tell you what kind of daddy I am.
All right, tomorrow, let's go. Tomorrow, you're on the floor of Parliament. What are you fighting for the people?
You talked about family, and family is near and dear to my heart. Maternity leave, the 12 to 14 weeks right now is the major thing that's in discussion, the extension of it. And I, too, if I'm on the floor of Parliament, will sign off and champion for the extension of the maternity leave. I believe 14 weeks is not enough. My baby, though, is paternity leave, because it's fine and well to have the mothers nurturing and taking care of the children within their first few months. But what about the fathers? Fathers need to be part of that bonding process. And research has shown that children who bond with both parents at an early age do better later on in life, And so I want fathers to be involved in this process as well. So I will be championing 2 weeks paternity leave for fathers on the floor of Parliament. Another thing that I will be championing, coming from the background that I come from, is for us to actually revisit the the cultural policy framework, and to make the framework into a cultural policy. So that is something that I believe is necessary to establish.
Can you explain that?
Establishing a cultural policy, it allows for us to utilize arts and culture and look for the areas that we need to extract and utilize to make arts and culture viable. It can be an economic driver. It can function within education. It gives a sense of identity. So we need to flesh out the policy and utilize it to the best of our ability. It can be monetized, used to make money. Tourists come here to get a sense of what St. Martin is about. And if we clearly define and identify what our culture is, what our folklore and history is all about, we can utilize those things to have our crafters make craft and artwork that reflects what the St. Martin culture is, and tourists can either buy them, and there's so many different things that can happen out of actually creating a cultural policy for St. Martin. Another thing that I intend to champion on the floor of Parliament is creating an aviation registry. An aviation registry allows for the Department of Civil Aviation here in St. Martin to create a register where private aircraft owners can register their aircraft here in St. Martin. Totola has a marine registry where thousands of boats from all over the world are registered in Totola. St. Martin can do the same and make money off of it by registering aircraft here. Aruba has an aircraft registry. We can establish one here as well. What ends up happening is that because of larger countries having so many privately owned aircraft, the paperwork, the bureaucracy and stuff involved with being registered in their own countries is a bit tiresome and cumbersome for the owners. So what happens is in a smaller registry, the paperwork turnaround happens to be a whole lot quicker. Government makes money off of them having to pay for 13, 14 different types of certificates that are required for an aircraft to fly. And so we can make money off of that. And that's something that I intend to propose once I'm a parliamentarian. The relevant minister will have to pick it up and run with it. And again, I can co-work and co-legislate with that minister on getting the aviation registry. I was raised by my grandparents. And so there's also an Adopt a Grandparent program that I would love to see instituted. Whoever the minister is going to be, I would love to work with them again on getting that Adopt a Grandparent instituted, because our old people's biggest cry, apart from the taxation of their pensions, which I'll get into as well, is the fact that because of how society has been wired now, they hardly see their children or their loved ones. And so what I want to do is bridge the gap, and this is overlapping again with culture and art and all of that types of stuff, where the young and the old are brought together, and we bridge the divide and have the old people teach, have the young people learn, have the young people develop a sense of identity and knowing what St. Martinus is by learning it from our old folks. It also provides them with company, you know, and so it's something that I'm passionate about. I want to see our old people, you know, enjoy not only just the recreation at the senior citizens rec centers, doing puzzles and that kind of stuff and interacting with other old folks, but interacting with the generations that have come behind them. I touched a little bit on the taxation of their pensions, and that is something that I recently learned through talking, when we were compiling our manifesto, through talking with individuals, that the taxation on the pensions is because pension is seen as an income. So it is our responsibility now as legislators to work on either reducing or eliminating, making an exemption for that group of people having to pay tax on a particular income. So reducing or eliminating the taxes on old age pension is something that I am also passionate about.
Make sure you go out and vote September 26th on St. Martin. This is a very important election, and we just know you're going to make St. Martin proud with whomsoever you access your vote to. You know what we always say? Keep tuning in. We'll give you all access. Thanks for watching.
Boys and girls and children of all ages, this is what you have been waiting on. Let's go!
All access with Audrey Jazz. All access.